6 minutes starts now.
Democrats keep hoping Republicans fail, replacing Obamacare at the Senate. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Democrats held a rally outside the Capitol last night.
We got to push. We got to organize and mobilize.
That's Congressman John Lewis as Republican leaders try to unite GOP senators on the bill. Fox's Rachel Sutherland live in Washington.
Dave, a Congressional Budget Office report shows the plan would slash the deficit while moving 22 million Americans off health insurance plans over the next decade. Democrats upset about rolling back Medicaid expansion. Republican Senator John Thune supports the legislation.
The policy isn't going to get better if we drag this out, and the politics certainly isn't going to get any better either.
The question this morning, do Republicans have the votes? At this point, 4 Republicans are opposed to even opening debate. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell wanted to have the health care bill wrapped up by Friday. Dave.
Rachel, the White House issued a warning to Syria last night in a statement saying the U.S. has identified potential preparations for another chemical weapons attack. And if that happens, the Assad regime would pay a heavy price. Months after the U.S. retaliated for a deadly chemical attack there. There's reaction from Syria and Russia. Fox's Alistair Wanklin live in our European bureau.
Dave, Syria denying it is preparing a chemical attack, and the Kremlin dismissing the White House warning, accusing the U.S. of threatening Syria's leadership. A spokesman for the Russian president saying there is no evidence that Syria has or has used chemical weapons. In April, U.S. warships unleashed a barrage of Tomahawk missiles on a Syrian airbase identified as the launch site for chemical weapons that killed dozens. Dave.
Alistair, President Trump's again taking shots at CNN on Twitter as fake news, tweeting, wow, CNN had to retract big story on Russia, 3 employees forced to resign. Washington, D.C. makes history today, the first in the U.S. to offer a new gender option on driver's licenses. Instead of male or female, residents can choose X. Oregon will start offering something similar next month. Fox News, fair and balanced.
With Quicken Loans, the outdated and complicated mortgage process is a thing of the past. Our simple process helps you understand all the details so you can be confident that you're getting the right mortgage. Take your mortgage to the next level and call 800-QUICKEN or go completely online with Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. No matter how you prefer to work with us, we've got what you need to get you through the mortgage process with ease. For 7 years in a row now, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. And for the 3rd year in a row, they also ranked us highest in the nation for mortgage servicing. Whether you're looking to purchase or refinance, now is the time. The rate today on a 30-year fixed-rate mortgage is 3.875%, APR 4.23%. Call 800-QUICKEN or get started online at rocketmortgage.com. Apply simply, understand fully, mortgage confidently.
For J.D. Power award information, visit jdpower.com. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLSConsumerAccess.org number 3030.
State lawmakers are moving towards approval of a state budget, advancing the bills out of committee late last night. Final approval expected Thursday. The $35 million spending plan, one of the governor's key budget proposals, involves Horizon while also incorporating a Democratic overhaul of the state's education aid. Highlights on our website this morning. On Ask the Governor last night, Chris Christie gave an update on the coastal dune construction project. He says most work is done, but there are a few pockets of open beaches because of lawsuits from homeowners.
And continue to say, no, it's going to hurt my view. No, I don't want you to own any strip on my property. In order to maintain your property and keep it safe, we're going to continue to have these problems. But we're almost done.
The governor says parts of Bayhead and Maniloking may not get dunes until this hurricane season is over. Prospects for passage of the much-publicized Republican health care overhaul are murky. There is opposition from at least 3 Republican senators this morning. After the bodies of 2 young swimmers were recovered this past week in Atlantic City, they're trying to identify a third that washed up in North Wildwood. Police are asking the public for help. I'm Eric Scott. This is the Town Square News Network.
A couple of showers and maybe a thunderstorm will be possible at any time today across the Garden State. We will see periods of partly sunny skies along the way. High temperatures still just below normal in the upper 70s to around 80 degrees. Clearing skies tonight with pleasant temperatures. Lows mostly in the upper 50s. A beautiful weather day tomorrow. Sunny and mild. Highs around 80 degrees. By Thursday, though, getting stickier and steamier as humidity returns. Increasing clouds. Warm and breezy on Thursday. Highs bounce into the mid-80s. I'm meteorologist Dan Zero.
From Harry Hurley Way in the world's playground to the broadcast pioneers of Philadelphia Hall of Fame.
I want to congratulate my friend, Harry Hurley.
You're about to find out why Harry Hurley has been named to the Talkers magazine list of the 100 most important talk show hosts in the nation. Live from the studios of Town Square Media in Northfield, it's Hurley in the Morning on WPG Talk Radio 104.1.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Rubel, the president of Town Square Media South Jersey, has just left the studio, ladies and gentlemen. Round of applause for Michael Rubel. This is Chuck Malamut's weekly program. Chuck is presenting this program as he does Tuesday mornings in the 8 o'clock hour. Chuck is a financial advisor at Morgan Stanley. He's the official and the exclusive financial advisor for the Hurley in the Morning program, Hurley in the Morning charity et al. The information, views, and opinions expressed on this broadcast are those of Chuck and do not necessarily reflect those of Morgan Stanley or its affiliates. They are current as of the date of this broadcast and are subject to change without notice. Neither the information provided nor any opinion expressed herein constitutes a solicitation for the purchase or sale of any security. This presentation is for informational purposes only. Morgan Stanley Smith Barney, member SIPC. Joining us now, Brother Chuck Malamut.
Good morning, Harry. How are you today?
Great, Chuck. How you doing, my man?
I'm great. I ran into Kirk in the parking lot, and I forgot to ask him about my cookies. So
yeah, they were here last week.
I know. I understand that. So they're long gone and forgotten,
and they were so delicious.
Just remember, they interest, penalties, taxes.
Even though you weren't AWOL, because AWOL is absent without leave. You had submitted for the day off, and I approved it. So you were not AWOL. But had you been here,
it certainly wasn't a day off, Harry.
I know. I know where you were, and I know what you were doing. All right, so Chuck, market update.
So Harry, last week, if you take a look at this, global equities slipped slightly last week, but as you know, the S&P did post a new record high earlier in the week. One of the things that we're going to kind of chat about in a minute is sort of a crisis, I guess is crisis, not a good word, Harry, but falling oil prices are a concern for investors. While certain businesses will prosper from lower oil prices, the energy companies as we know them, the pipelines, the suppliers, the companies that move and transport, I mean, they all came under a significant amount of pressure. West Texas Intermediate crude, Harry, last week ended up at 42.65 a barrel on Friday, down from 44.70 a week ago. Now, it has rallied back slightly over the last few days. We're basically the 7-month low right now with the price of crude. And, the one item that we track consistently is the 10-year Treasury note. It was virtually unchanged, at that 215, 212 range. Volatility on the VIX that we oftentimes look at, declines slightly as well week over week. So we are in a market, Harry, we're sort of in the, even though we're not even in July yet, I'm going to kind of put it at the dog days of summer. We're sitting here waiting for Q2 results, which will come, figure they'll start the middle of July. Mm-hmm. So we're sort of in that quiet period where companies, can't report much of anything as it's related to potential earnings, because they're in that 30-day window, so to speak. So, but for the most part, when you take a look at it, it's certainly all pretty good news. The S&P, the Dow Jones, the NASDAQ, all of your international markets, everything is positive here, obviously, year to date. And I kind of wish, not that I'm saying I kind of wishing for time to go by very, very quickly, but I wouldn't be disappointed, Harry, if we ended the year right now. I mean,
it would be beautiful. Hopefully, it'll just get better, though.
The S&P up over 10, the Dow up close to 10, the NASDAQ, the clear winner up over 17, and that's after you figure we had that 2-day swoon with technology stocks where a lot of money moved.
Yeah, when is the last time, Chuck, you can recall? I don't expect you to know like the day and the year, but it's been a while since a great year, whole business has been achieved in the first 6 months. I would say it's been a while.
It's been several years, Harry, but this sort of activity is not unusual, and it certainly portrays to the fact that spending time in the market versus timing the market. I mean, it's sort of a play on words. I use the same words. I flipped around a little bit, but if chances are you would have been not participated in the rally that started, beginning in November, if you let your emotions take control. So, having said that, if you take a look at what have we accomplished, in the last 6 months. I mean, the expectations were that muted returns in the equity market. And obviously that did not pass.
But I will, Chuck, if a penny on the price of a gallon of regular gasoline means $1.5 billion or $2 billion to the economy, the fact I just drove past my corner store and there's gasoline stations that are cheaper than that. It's $2.19 right now for a regular gallon of unleaded gasoline.
Yeah, I saw just this morning, Harry, the price at the pump, nationally speaking. I want to get this correct. I believe it was a week ago. It was $2.31, and has now slipped to like $2.25.
And that's in the summertime,
and
where it usually goes
and
up.
It was $2.35, a year ago. So we're seeing some price pressures at the pump, which obviously helps the consumer. But the 6 cents says, okay, at the end of the day, with these lower oil prices, how much is it impacting these energy companies? So there's a lot to be said for that. And if you think about it, talking about oil in particular, so West Texas, Harry, extended the decline last week. Rising global inventories was the culprit. So prices, the West Texas intermediate prices have fallen in excess of 25% from the high of just shy of over $58, which was at the beginning of this year, Harry. So that's a big decline, and and as you would expect, the worst performer in the S&P 500, when you take out all the sectors, is energy. It's down 13.2%. So that does impact businesses to a certain degree, but it certainly has taken its toll on on all oil related companies.
Chuck, 3 minutes before the first break, let me ask you to address an issue that Kirk and I have been talking about. The Federal Reserve, in their infinite wisdom, and I think they did the right thing, the U.S. economy was on the brink of nothing short of disaster. They went into a very high modality purchasing mode. They purchased vast quantities of government bonds and mortgage-backed securities. So this was a rescue. They call it quantitative easing. You've talked about, QE a lot. But this was an unheard of Fed balance sheet of $4.5 trillion, nothing like it ever before. So they stopped the buying spree a couple of years ago. But where do they go from here? They purchased so much. They have this immense balance sheet. What do you do when the economy is better and they purchase so much to keep the economy from, I guess, falling off the cliff or in the abyss, whatever you want to call it? So I've teed it up. What are your thoughts about that?
So Yellen said, and a lot of the Fed officials are reinforcing what she said a couple of weeks ago, and that message of ongoing policy normalization. So what they have a couple things that they can do. So obviously we've seen an increase in interest rates, and we can talk about that after the break and where do we go from there. But the reduction of the balance sheet is now very, very critical.
Yes,
and it's a matter of the Fed.
It's probably the most critical thing.
The Fed has a very, very tight rope to walk here, and they have to be able to do this successfully.
Yep.
And if not, the implications on the other side, could be very, very significant in a bad way.
They could throw us
in a
into
negative
recession.
way to all of us. So, the fact of the matter is that they floated that at the last Fed meeting that this is what they were going to do. The markets handled it. And something that we're going to talk about, I think, as we get into today, the stock market and the bond market, Harry, are signaling two different potential events. And it's been doing this a long time, And the question is, usually they work in sort of lockstep, but now they're not. And the question is, who's right and to what extent?
Big questions. We're going to take a brief time out. Coming back, it's exactly 15 minutes past the hour. Just a reminder, for all of your financial planning needs, turn to Chuck Malamut, his group, the Malamut Group, Morgan Stanley, Northfield, New Jersey office, 609-383-2010, 609-383-2010 for all of your financial planning needs. We'll be back with Chuck and you, your financial matters, with Chuck Malamut in 3 minutes.
You've been lied to by corrupt Washington politicians and the Wall Street propaganda machine. Hi, I'm Inc. magazine best-selling author Brett Kitchen, and I want to give you a free copy of my brand new book, Wealth Beyond Wall Street, because we all know another market crash could be right around the corner. After losing 35% in my IRA in the crash years ago, I said enough, and since then I discovered a way to grow money potentially double digits, reduce taxes dramatically, and also have my money protected when the next stock market crash hits. When the next market crash hits, you lose nothing. Call Wealth Beyond Wall Street now to get your free copy and talk with a specialist to discover this little-known strategy to get potential double-digit growth during good years and never lose when the next stock market crash hits, all while building a tax-advantaged retirement. Call 1-800-920-8484 to discover this asset that people like Walt Disney and JCPenney use to grow wealthy. Plus, get one of just 97 free books left. We even cover shipping and handling, no credit card required. Call 800-920-8484, 1-800-920-8484. That's 1-800-920-8484.
We treat people well. Shore Physicians Group. Shore Physicians Group is proud to include rheumatology among its medical specialties, allowing you to seek diagnosis and treatment for arthritis and other disease that can affect your joints, muscles, and bones. Shore Physicians Group rheumatologists Dr. Linda Brecker and Anna Serlusu are board certified in internal medicine and rheumatology. Together, these expert practitioners bring fellowship training and a highly personalized approach to the people they care for. Shore Physicians Group is accepting new patients at its Summers Point and Marmore offices. Most insurance plans are accepted. For a rheumatology appointment, call 609-365-6200 or visit shorephysiciansgroup.com. That's 609-365-6200 or shorephysiciansgroup.com. Shore Physicians Group, treating people well.
Here's a special message for those of you who owe the IRS at least $10,000 or more in back taxes. The IRS has special programs in place that could eliminate or reduce your tax debt by thousands of dollars. Call the Tax Mediation Hotline that's been set up to help you. 800-486-9020. Stop the wage garnishments, levies, and tax liens now. Once you've qualified and enrolled, the IRS will stop all the collection activities against you. These unique programs have been allocated to help the economy and significantly reduce or eliminate your tax burden. The IRS is currently accepting reduced settlements and other favorable programs. You may qualify for substantial savings, so get the help you need. If you owe more than $10,000 in taxes, call for free information and to see if you qualify. Take down the number now for the Tax Mediation Hotline, 800-486-9020. That's 800-486-9020. 800-486-9020.
Hey, wake up with Harry Hurley and drive home with me, Sean Hannity, 3 to 6. It's all happening here on WPG Talk Radio 104.1.
Thank you very much. Welcome back. Chuck Malamut continues. Chuck, time is yours.
So, Harry, let's see. We left off at oil.
Yep, I threw in the 4.5 trillion
right.
in the
So
balance sheet.
Let's talk a little bit more about the Fed. So, you know, the big question is, at this point in time, where does the Fed go with interest rates? So as we all know, they raised their target rate in June. The expectations for these additional rate hikes, and you think about it, as we got into the beginning of the year, you know, multiple rate hikes every meeting, 6 to 8 times. Well, Harry, I think what has happened, that has fallen off rather sharply after the last meeting. So if you kind of were a betting person, if you looked at the Fed fund future market, the odds of a hike right now at the next meeting are below 50%. So that's what the strategists and the analysts are all saying at this point in time. The next
Has it
rate hike?
Has it been 3 consecutive meetings that they
No.
have increased 2?
Just 2.
Just 2?
So now
Maybe 3 out of 4.
the chances are they're going to push this out into, believe it or not, March of 2018.
Good.
So that's substantially lower than the signals that were sent out earlier in the year.
Does that say they're not as confident in the strength of the economy as they were?
Well, I think the economy is one thing.
So they won't hit anywhere near 5 increases in 1 year.
So, Fed officials early in the year said that they expected to have as many as 4 rate hikes could have taken place in 2017. So we've seen 2 so far. The difference of opinion right now is it's all centered around inflation. And if you look at inflation, it has stayed below the Fed's long-term desired goal of 2%. So think about this. There's 4 meetings left in 2017, and the Fed is stuck so far to its guns as far as the public is concerned about wanting to raise rates. Markets appear at this point in time to be sort of making their own odds based on the economic data that we're seeing rather than on the Fed's own statement. So, the question is, Harry, time will tell, whether the markets, are right or whether the markets are wrong. And, the Fed is in a quandary right now. I mean, it's very, very challenging because, some of the data that comes across, if you take a look at unemployment or employment, so where are we right now? We're at 4.3%. Yep. Consumer confidence, remains for the most part at fairly elevated levels. Although I did hear this morning that GM's prediction of new car sales for 2017, was reduced somewhat over the last several months. But Harry, so the consumer's saying one thing. The demand side of the economy, if you look at the light vehicle sales, if you look at housing starts, if you look at exports and inventory growth, it's been very disappointing, unfortunately, in the last several months. Coming in below expectations and prior readings. So, again, the expectation was we wanted to get to 3% GDP. And now the expectation is, well, if that happens, it's going to be 2018. It's not going to be 2017. So
but we are expecting more than 2%.
Yeah, we are.
Like
so
2.3,
private payroll growth remains stable. Exports, inventories, government spending has been weaker in the first half. So the economy expectation is we get into the second half of 2017 should get better. So you have a moderate, but you have a potentially a healthy economic expansion. So what it gets down to is, you think about all the news flow, and actually, Kirk and I kind of chatted about this while we were out in the parking lot. He was leaving, I was coming in this morning. It's just, what we're seeing is just crazy, Harry. And I can't tell you the number of calls that we're getting and we're meeting with clients it's been elevated now as far as, am I properly allocated? Am I doing the right thing? Do I own too much of a particular asset class? Do I need to, reduce equities and buy fixed income? And Harry, in the times that I've been doing this, I've never seen this much. I don't want to use the word craziness, but the word escapes me. I mean, I just think that people are very, very anxious.
Well, here's what I believe. I believe, and I've said this for my entire broadcasting career, and I believed it even before then. The country takes on the shape, the face of their leader. The past 8 years, we were sort of lead from behind. You get what you get. This is a president that is just 20-some hours a day, nonstop. So we almost take on, as a nation, a frenetic pace. I don't think, and this isn't politics, this is just the nature of America through the centuries, the Bill Clinton years. I could bring up a description of those particular 8 years and before that, and the Reagan years before that. I think economically we're going to mirror the Ronald Reagan 8-year cycle. That's what I think is the most comparable type of analogy in the past 30 or 40 years. I see a lot of similarities in economic policy, free market, low taxes. It just seems that we're sort of going back to the future.
Harry, I agree with you, but you sort of add into that statement the fact that because of the way we are all connected now and the ability to get information. I don't want to call it news because I don't think it is for a lot of times.
But it is instant access to allegations and reports.
And that, creates a lot of anxious moments.
Yeah. Which can create volatile moments in the markets, right?
But the market, Harry, for the most part, has sidestepped a lot of this.
It's been impervious to it.
And but you think about, when the euphoria that was put into place or started, at the election, we're just not getting there right now. I mean, there's been, I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about healthcare reform or tax reform, but the fact of the matter is that
I think there's a lot of distractions, Chuck.
Well,
I mean, I'm sort of amazed at how well the markets have compartmentalized the insanity. I mean, this has been just a nonstop, 24/7 crazy, hyper, over-the-top news cycle that the media has gone into like warp drive, and yet the markets just seem to be completely just unimpressed by it all.
Well, the markets have their moments. There's no doubt about it, and you look at asset allocation shifts. You look, moving out of momentum stocks more into value stocks, but that's not uncommon. So, the debate is, are we at the end of a really, really good, long-standing, disrespected equity market, or are we just taking a pause, so to speak, as we move into the latter part of 2017, ultimately into 2018?
Chuck, before we hit the bottom of the hour break, I declared as the mayor of the morning today to be a special national holiday, Chuck.
I do, I put reminders on my client database system, and one popped up yesterday. And I usually put these in the day before the event. And my goal was to call your lovely bride today.
Very nice.
To wish her happy 21st birthday.
Thank you.
I don't quite understand, Harry, how the math doesn't work, but
No.
I that's okay. I won't go there trying to figure out. But happy birthday, Margie, and many, many more. You're very, very blessed and just a wonderful person, and we love
Thank you, Chuck. Thank you so much. I took that picture at Resorts Casino Hotel in Atlantic City, Chuck. It's my favorite picture.
She was happy because I was with you guys that night.
It was just Margie and I. It was just the two. And she was looking at me, and she looks that happy. So thank you for the unwitting compliment, Chuck.
Not a problem,
I really appreciate it. When we come back, and we'll be back in just a few minutes, Chuck has a lot more. We're going to be talking about U.S. housing prices. I think that's going to be interesting. I believe they're on the rise. We will see what the expert Chuck Malamut has to say. If there's anything more about stocks and bonds, Chuck will talk about that. I know Chuck touched on mid-year assessment. We'll see if there's any more of that as well. Much more with Chuck Malamut. And a reminder for all of your financial planning needs, and that means everything from college building to retirement planning, vacation planning. 609-383-2010, 609-383-2010. That's the number to call Chuck and the Malamut Group.
Hi, it's Tom P., South Jersey's hunting and fishing guy and host of Rack and Fin Radio here on WPG Talk Radio 104.1. Join me every Saturday morning at 6 to find out what's happening on the fishing, hunting, and boating scenes here in South Jersey. And we'll also talk about legislation that impacts you here in the Garden State. I'll have your earliest look at fishing hotspots, inside tips on how you can catch the big one, and more. That's Rack and Fin Radio with me, Tom P., Saturday morning at 6 on WPG Talk Radio 104.1, South Jersey's talk station.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-527-8057. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-527-8057. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-527-8057. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds, too. Call 800-527-8057. 800-527-8057.
What is dangerous driving? It's aggressive driving, intoxicated driving, reckless driving, and texting while driving. These drivers put everyone in danger. If you see someone driving dangerously in New Jersey, you can do something about it. Call pound 77 on your cell to report it. That's pound 77. Let them know we're all watching. This message brought to you by the New Jersey Division of Highway Traffic Safety, New Jersey State Police, New Jersey Broadcasters Association, and this station.
Your credit card companies love you. They love it when your cards stay maxed out. They love it when you only make minimum payments. They love it when you struggle. Why? Because they own you. And minimum payments mean maximum profits. Here's great news. National Debt Relief is now offering you free information on how to escape your credit card debt nightmare. If you owe more than $10,000 in credit card debt and only barely making minimum payments, know this. You may not have to pay it all back. In fact, you may have the right to settle that debt for only a fraction of what you owe. National Debt Relief has helped thousands of people get rid of over $500 million of debt, and they're A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. Get the information you need for free right now before this offer goes away. Call National Debt Relief now and escape your credit card debt troubles. 800-910-4005. 800-910-4005. 800-910-4005.
Here at Town Square Media, we're not your average radio group. From web design to e-commerce to social media and the latest in mobile technology, we employ an arsenal of services to help our clients build their businesses. But we can't do it without a dedicated sales staff. We're experiencing record growth, and we're looking for seasoned sales professionals with drive and determination to help us grow even more. We offer an excellent base salary with high commission rates, an unlimited earning potential, and full benefits. Plus, we offer major market experience without the major market commute. At Town Square Media, you'll get the opportunity to make a real difference to thousands of local businesses, and you'll have a lot of fun along the way. If you're an experienced salesperson with a proven track record of success, then Town Square Media might have an opportunity for you. To learn more about outside sales opportunities, contact Mike Rubel, Market Manager, at 609-645-9797. That's 609-645-9797. Town Square Media is an equal opportunity employer. 609-645-9797.
Hi, it's Mark Levin. Join me at 6 this evening. Now back to the Mayor of the Morning, Harry Hurley, on WPG Talk Radio 104.1, South Jersey's talk station.
Thanks very much. We continue. Chuck Malamut, the official financial advisor for the Hurley in the Morning program. Chuck, time is yours.
So, Harry, if you look at the S&P at that slightly over that 2,400 level, one of the predictions that our chief strategist came up with, based on earnings per share, a bull case scenario of S&P earnings at $142, which is a 21.1 time multiple. They're putting a 3,000 price target on the S&P. The base case, where we look at a 19 times multiple with that same $142 earnings, at 2,700 on the S&P 500, and which is an upside about 10-11%. Bear case, if it doesn't work out, let's say we end up with a 16 times multiple, a S&P price target about 2,100, Harry, which would be a decrease of about 14%, and that's based on Friday's close. We had a little bit of movement up on yesterday, but you think about how many people right now, Harry, are just absolutely I don't want to use the word petrified. Help me out here. Cautious.
Cautious, good word.
With respect to equities. And now, do you transition off a U.S. large cap into small and mid? Do you go international? I think the key is, Harry, you got to still be in the game. And if not, I mean, the fear that we have is that, as we mentioned before, with the VIX being as low as it is, that's the volatility index. That maybe we have all become a little complacent. And what happens when complacency sets in? Ultimately, the market, at some point in time, there will be a number of economic reports. There'll be some sort of, geopolitical crisis that'll happen, and the markets will unfortunately move down, and then those that became very, very complacent will sort of get in that hyperventilation stage, and it's like, get me out at any cost. It doesn't matter now. It's just
which is terrible when that happens.
The one thing, if I go back and I look,
people own their losses at that point.
Yeah, if I go back and look at the 30-some years in doing this, and and going through the initial training, we really should have spent more time on investor psychology. It was more on, basic skills, growing a business, how to communicate effectively with prospective clients and clients. But really, a fair amount of time needs to be dedicated to investor psychology, and especially now, Harry, more now than we were previously, because you have the robo-advisors, and, investors have a tendency to make some really, really poor decisions at the absolute wrong time.
I agree with that, and this is where someone like you, I think, is so important, because say you're in unprecedented times, say a decade ago, 8 to 10 years ago, and you watch half of your portfolio just take a beating. It takes a lot of guts to not want to say, oh my gosh, I better just cut and run now. Half's better than zero. And of course, it was never going to go to zero. But a lot of people did cut and run, did they not, Chuck?
Well, Harry, yeah, the psychology was,
run.
Get me out now, because I can lock down my losses and I know what I've lost versus what I could potentially lose.
Right, but if you stayed, how did it turn out?
So here's what's interesting, Harry. If you stayed, obviously it worked out very well. Not every stock, not every industry, not every sector works the same in lockstep. We know that. One of the planning tools that we use with our clients and prospective clients is a goal view analysis called Life View, and one of the sections of Life View, it looks at the asset allocation of our client or our prospective client. And it sort of rolls the clock back and says, okay, if you were invested the way you are now, back with the Great Recession, 2007, 8, and into 9, you would have taken a certain percentage loss, 25, 30, 35, because it all depends upon the allocation of equities versus fixed income. And then we do what is called a bear case scenario, meaning what is your probability of success if you incurred a 25, 30% loss first year of your retirement, and then go forward. So that's what I want to call, bear case, worst case. And oftentimes, and what we do, Harry, it's obviously portfolio construction is very, very important. But I think more important than that is certainly goal setting and trying to understand where you're going, how you're going, and how you're going to get there, and when you're going to get there. Most investors really don't pay attention to that. They're more concerned with, did I buy this stock the right way? Can it move up? You have to have the two work together in an effort to make certain that you're on track. Because why take on undue risk if you don't need to?
Right.
Or conversely, if your goals are not going to be achievable, and you want to get to those goals, and you need to obviously take on more risk, to get there.
Which screams for your, what I call, perfected concept of total asset management and the all-important asset allocation, because if you're properly diversified, that, to me, is the winning strategy.
Yeah, look, the goal is obviously to be able to capture most of the upside in a good market conversely, in a bad market, is to protect yourself on the downside. Now, in a bad market, if you own equities, you're going to incur some losses. I mean, I think everybody understands that. But if you take a look at the components of the S&P 500 and what has driven the market year to date, it's been rather centralized into just a few stocks, and a lot of those stocks are in the technology sector. So, investors, Harry, have a tendency, to pile in at the absolute wrong time. It's they kind of chase returns. So if you take a look at technology, year to date, that sector's up over 20%. Conversely, as we mentioned before, energy is down 13%. And what does the contrarian do?
Does the other?
The contrarian, doesn't mean you take all of your technology positions and you move them into energy, but you need to be, cautious and clearly understand the path you're on, and why you're looking, why and you're trying to get this accomplished and how you're going to get it accomplished. So, if you take a look at, we sort of, a mid-year assessment as to, what has happened. I mean, you think about the beginning of the year, we kind of looked at 2017 as a year of transition. We expected improving economic growth. We looked at, potentially accelerating corporate earnings, which has happened, and rising interest rates. We looked at additional volatility and in the equity markets in particular, and some potential leadership changes within the equity market create a more difficult market, for investors.
Chuck, I know you talk about this on your program when appropriate, and I don't know that we've talked about it a lot lately. You've mentioned it, but let's talk a little bit about, in our closing minutes, about how real estate is factoring in.
All right. So what we'll do, Harry, let's chat about for real estate. And I'm going to save the mid-year assessment for next week. I'm going to also save, because I do want to talk about this, and I'm guessing there's not going to be a lot of changes week over week. What the stock market is saying, what the bond market is saying. But if you take a look, for instance, at housing, solid demand year to date, reluctant supply. If sales of existing homes rose 1.1%. In May, which puts you at an annualized rate of 5.6 million units. And this was information that we received from the National Association of Realtors. This is what's just amazing, Harry. The average number of days that a house now sells, nationally speaking, is 27.
So, Chuck, correct me if I'm wrong, I learned this from you. Anything that within 1 month's time, 30 days or so's time, that could become a liquid asset. So if you can sell your home in 27 days, your home right now is a liquid asset.
Yeah, I mean, well, obviously, selling the home at the right price.
Yes.
So now that's the fastest.
That's pretty amazing.
That's the fastest number of days that we've seen, Harry, since 2011, and that actually moved down 2 days. It was 29 days in April. Now we're at 27 in May. So
isn't it also fair to say, Chuck, that the seller was for a number of years wildly driving the bus in charge?
Yeah.
And that now it is very near 50-50, or even maybe buyers are starting to get a little edge.
You have some areas of this country where a house goes up, like San Francisco, and it's a matter of how quickly you can get your bid in. I mean, those houses are selling very quickly.
Let me go back. I said it opposite. I just caught my own juxtaposition there. For the longest time, 8 years or more, the seller was driving the bus and had just their way. No, I want to flip it.
You're right. No, the seller had their way up until recently.
Well, actually,
no. The buyer. I'm sorry. You got me confused. The buyer.
I did that.
Yeah, the buyer had his or her way.
The bus.
And now that has, I think it is more, the pendulum's now sort of swung to the middle.
And maybe tipping to the seller for the first time.
So you've had obviously some positive factors in driving this number of days down to 27. We talked about wage growth before. It's slow, but it's steady. We've had, you think about, we talked about interest rates and the yield curve, and the yield curve becoming flat. And what has happened is, mortgage interest rates, are still relatively low by historical standards. And, I think, Harry, a lot of this is also driven by the available inventory. If you go back, we've had 24 straight year-over-year declines of available inventory. We're down to 8.4% from where we were a year ago. So, you've had, construction starts have declined pretty significantly, Harry, over the last, several months, and sales for new homes have increased. And as a result of that, you're sort of in that juxtaposition where, you have more demand and less supply. So at the end of the day, this bodes well for the majority of the country. I mean, we've talked about, what's happening here, and it seems that what I'm seeing and what we've talked about here is that things are getting a little bit better, but certainly not where we need to be compared to the rest of the country per se.
Chuck, anything in closing?
Well, Harry, look, the news flow will continue. We oftentimes advise our clients, to try to be patient. Oftentimes advise our clients to, turn off the TV. And
it's so hard, Chuck, because the ticker's on everything. They got the crawler at the bottom. They torture people.
Yes, unfortunately, Harry, it's I think
people get alerts on their cell phones. I mean, it's tough.
Wherever you go, whatever you're doing, we all have a tendency to be way too connected, and I think ultimately that causes issues and creates too much anxiety, and investors have a tendency to overreact. So I think, Harry, you got to take a step back. You got to understand, what you're doing, why you're doing it, and then clearly establish your path. And I think at the end of the day, we have clients, Harry, 3 generations. I'll call the grandparents, the parents, and now the children.
It's like Charles Kane.
And so we're you and I are the parents.
Yeah.
So our parents were clients, and now our children are clients. So you think about if you're able to, span those multiple generations, and obviously, it's a matter of being patient and doing the right thing.
Yeah, you're doing something.
You're not
right.
going to be right all the time. We know that, but if you're more right than wrong, and if you do the necessary planning, chances are you're going to be well off many, many years from now.
You've been listening to Chuck Malamut, the official financial advisor for the Hurley in the Morning program. To reach the Malamut Group, which Chuck leads, give them a call at 609-383-2010. Chuck has been selected to the annual Barron's. That's the Dow Jones Business and Financial Weekly publication power list of America's top 1,200 financial advisors, and Chuck made their coveted top 50 list in New Jersey. Chuck has made both power lists multiple times over the years. He'll join us next week, Tuesday, in the 8 o'clock hour. We'll be back. I have an event that I want to help plug. I hope I have to reach a certain someone to be able to do it the best way. And then before the end of the hour, we're going to give away 2 pairs of tickets to Fight Night this Friday night at Tropicana Casino Hotel. We'll be back. It's early in the morning. Shore Medical Center is ready to go. 2 great panels that will be appearing over the next 60 minutes. Brian Cahill will be here for the full hour, the Director of Marketing and Public Relations at Shore Medical Center. And we're going to be talking about the farmers market. We're going to be talking about all kinds of things with Eric Scheffler in the second half of the 9 o'clock hour. Straight ahead, it's 48, almost 49 minutes past the hour.
Health Update with Robin Stoloff, brought to you by Atlantic Care. Healthcare you can believe in.
Who doesn't love a good cookout? So how do we keep from overdoing it? Here's Nancy Adler from Nancy Adler Nutrition.
Before leaving for that barbecue, grab a quick, healthy, protein-based snack to keep you full so you don't overeat. Choose lean meats and fish from the grill. Forego those high carbohydrate foods like the rolls, the potato salad, and the macaroni salad. Fill up on those beautiful, colorful grilled veggies. And if drinking alcohol, choose a light beer variety and wine spritzers. Incorporate at least 30 to 45 minutes of cardiovascular exercise, and remember to always stay hydrated in the summer sun.
Very good information for our summer cookouts. Nancy Adler from Nancy Adler Nutrition. And I'm Robin Stoloff for Health Update.
Health Update with Robin Stoloff, brought to you by Atlantic Care. Healthcare you can believe in.
Worry less with Liberty Mutual Insurance.
Liberty Mutual saved me almost $800 when I switched my home and auto insurance.
Liberty did what?
Yeah, I got the perfect coverage for us, and I didn't have to worry about skimping on Emma's party.
Oh, well, that explains the
Pony! Best birthday ever!
Visit us online to get a quote. You can leave worry behind when Liberty stands with you. Liberty Mutual Insurance. Based on a recent countrywide survey of new customers. Coverage is underwritten by Liberty Mutual Insurance Company.
Bryce's lifeless body slumped over the piano keyboard. His forehead played a dissonant chord that reverberated throughout the hall. Not his best performance, I thought. I opened the back of his neck with my screwdriver. A couple of fresh bars of lithium brought him and the music back to life. I am sure that someday he will do the same for me.
If this 20-second performance made you feel something, imagine what an entire Audible book can do. Visit audible.com to start your free 30-day trial.
Results will vary. Do you owe the IRS more than $10,000 in personal or business taxes and you can't afford to pay? You have the right to fast IRS tax relief. Join satisfied clients like Victoria. She owed the IRS $32,000. They accepted $300. She saved $31,700. Leroy owed $21,000. The IRS accepted $500, and he saved $20,500. Get fast IRS tax relief and save too. Call 800-581-3990. Has the IRS threatened to shut down your business, freeze your bank accounts, take your home, your cars, or garnish your wages? You may qualify for special programs to stop this process. Get fast IRS tax relief. The industry experts with negotiating with the IRS with an A rating with the Better Business Bureau. Call today and the IRS will be contacted the same day, putting a stop to bank levies and wage garnishments. Call the Fast IRS Tax Relief Hotline at 800-581-3990. 800-581-3990. That's 800-581-3990.
This will be a great continuation to Chuck's program, and it's an issue that Kirk and I have been reviewing with each other. And Chuck did a great job at his level discussing it. Last time that Kirk and I, it was probably a week or two ago that this issue came up. This was news that really started to come into focus several months ago, and that is the fact that the $4.5 trillion balance sheet purchased by the Fed in order to avoid an economy that was on the brink of disaster. So the government, through quantitative easing, and you remember from Chuck Malamut, QE1 and QE2 and all these different discussions about how many different levels would there be, took us to the point where from about 2008-ish or 2009 through about 2014, the Fed was in this buying modality. It topped out assets pumped up on the Fed's balance sheet to an unheard of tune of $4.5 trillion. So what they did in 2014-ish was purposely they refrained from bloating the balance sheet any further until they could quantify that the economy was good and ready. And now, and this has been probably a few months at least, end of April, so we're now end of June, couple months in the making. Now is the moment when the Fed policymakers have to look at what are they going to do. And I thought that Chuck added the most important point, and that is what I think is a divergence from what they were planning on doing, and that is to continue to raise interest rates. See, I'm not a fan of not raising interest rates for 10 years and then crushing this new administration with rate increase after rate increase after rate increase, because at some point, because it's very, very challenging, and Chuck has talked to all of us about this for many, many years. It's very hard if something's too hot or if something's too cold. It's very hard to find that absolute sweet spot where you would say, wow, this is perfect. This is exactly where we want it to be. So the problem is then what humans typically do, and we're all the same, I think, in this respect. When you haven't focused on something, and all of a sudden, if a boss brings it up or you set some kind of goal, suddenly it's a point of emphasis. You then look at it, and then what almost, because we're not robots, what almost all human beings do. You overcorrect. And I really think that's where the Fed was heading. From nothing to just too much. And then, even as a layperson, that to me, that would be shocking to the equation. So, why it's a big deal? $4.5 trillion. Let me say it in English. $4.5 trillion on the Fed balance sheet is the equivalent of 1/4 of America's annual gross domestic product. So the reality is, if they hold down yields on Treasury securities and mortgage-backed debt, the Fed makes it cheaper for the government, the United States government, our government, to finance its budget deficits and also for home buyers to take out a loan. And obviously that was very desirable. The tricky part during a lot of the Great Recession was you would need to be creditworthy and have the debt-to-equity ratio with tightening credit monetary policies in order to take advantage of it. But it was beautiful, and it still is. And I think right now we're in an amazing environment where, and Chuck and I didn't get a chance to talk about this last hour, but I think the environment is great. The values of our homes are rising, even here in the most depressed area. Isn't it hard to believe because we were recession-proof for 40-plus years, but we had the worst go of it during the Great Recession, really in the entire country. It's hard to believe, when you're living through something. What did Ronald Reagan say? A recession is when my neighbor is out of work. A depression is when I'm out of work. And we saw a lot of people, all of us, saw a lot of friends, a lot of acquaintances, whole lot of folks either being downsized out, things shut down completely, hours cut back, trying to find 2 and 3 part-time jobs to make up with what one good job used to do. So this all had important implications for our financial markets. The Fed's purchases made U.S. Treasury securities more expensive. Then it encouraged investors to buy stocks instead. So the Fed helped. I think they did the right thing. Some people complain and they don't think it. I think they did the right thing. Some people think maybe it was a round or so too many times of the quantitative easing. But if you remember, there was every time the economy looked like it was at the point where you could do normal things again, raise interest rates prudently where you thought you could do it, something would happen. And we would get our legs cut out from under us and the wind knocked out of us, and then it would be delayed. And the reason that things have improved, because not only have our financial markets and just our citizenry weathered multiple small 25 basis point increases, 3 of them or so. Not only have we weathered them, but they've been built in and they've been, to me, rational, not over the top, not too many. But I think if they raise at the next meeting, where evidently, according to Chuck, there's a 50% likelihood according to their analytics, I'd be in favor of interest rates remaining the same at the next Fed meeting. That would be my desire. Keep in mind, if you think what I'm saying is normal, you would be wrong. It's unprecedented. It's never been done before. In the entire history of the country, this has never, ever been done. So when you go through something and you think it's normal, or you have people lying to you and telling you, oh, this is the new normal, it was never done before. And then that would say, hey, what does that portend in the future? Good, bad, unknown? It's never been like this before. We've never seen it. And that's why with what the Fed has to make decisions on, it's risky, very, very risky. And if they consider doing some of the things that they're talking about, I'd hate to see them, after all this slog, all this hard work, put us in the tank. We are giving away right now, if you give us a call, and I'll take you off air right now, dial 609-407-1450. It's a Hurley in the Morning guest listener appreciation moment. you can have a pair of tickets, $45 each, so $90 worth of fight night tickets for this Friday night at the Tropicana. There's a full fight card, and boxing in Atlantic City was once incredibly big, and hopefully it's going to be again, and it's going to take successful cards like this excellent card that could produce top 10 contenders, depending on the results this Friday night. If you'd like to go, 609-407-1450. I'm going to give away 2 pairs right now. $90, 2 pairs of fight tickets. We'll be back.
104.1 WPGG Atlantic City, WSJO 104.9 HD2 Egg Harbor City. Everything you need to know in 6 minutes starts now.
Syria denies it. Russia calls it unacceptable. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Those are reactions to a U.S. warning to Syria about possibly prepping for another chemical weapons attack. Fox's John Decker live at the White House.
In a statement from the press secretary, the White House warns that if Syrian President Bashar al-Assad conducts another mass murder attack using chemical weapons, he and his military will pay a heavy price. Fox News has learned that Pentagon is seeing new activity